What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toki, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. And of course, it is going to be the start of a brand new month and a brand new year. And with a brand new year, we are going to be shifting things up. I don't know if we're going to do this format moving forward, but for this tier list video, I am going to plan on just doing the top 20 characters. As I said, don't know if this is going to be a continued thing moving forward, but I think it would be kind of interesting just to look at the top 20 because obviously there are so many legends in the game. I just kind of want to narrow it down to my own personal top 20. Of course, just because I have 20 characters here, it doesn't mean that the other 300 legends are bad. Yes, there are bad ones out there, but it's just that, like, it just feels a little convoluted. There's just so many characters, and I don't really want to go through every individual unit because there are just so many goddamn units, right? So I feel like it would be probably a better idea just to kind of narrow it down to the top 20. I was thinking top 10, but top 10 felt a little short considering how many legends are actually in the game. So again, this is all a completely subjective list of just my own personal experience with Treasure Cruise. And of course, this is not particularly looking at Pirate Rumble. This is just looking at how would you actively use this character in normal content, you know. So we're going to jump into this one. We're going to go in batches of 5 all the way to the top. So let's go ahead and start off from our range of 16 to 20. The first character on my list, I think this probably would surprise some people, but I actually have made my list before, like obviously doing this video. A lot of the times when I do my tier list videos, I really don't do them like planned. I just kind of go off the cuff and how I'm feeling in the moment. But the first character that we're going to be adding is going to be Momonosuke. I think Momo is like just such a good character for most people to just start off the game with. EXP captain, but also provides attack boost. He also provides utility as well. Just across the board, really good unit. And if you're a beginner player, this is like a fantastic unit to start the game with. Having this and like a Psy Gear 5 Luffy, for example, like that combo is pretty deadly to start the game. He boosts Slasher and Free Spirit. Two of the best classes in the game for sure. So I don't really think there's too much to say about Momonosuke. He's just a fantastic unit. So I want to put him on the list. So let's move on. Let's swiftly move along. Now the next character I think also might be a bit of a surprise, but after like doing some thinking about it, I feel pretty confident in this pick. My next one is going to be Nami and Carrot. I think again this is kind of a weird choice because like, I think people like say, oh, you know, a treasure map legend, why would you put this character on the list? But Nami Carrot is just so good. I use them quite a lot, actually. The fact that they've got great classes, great type combos, they get access to fantastic supports as well. Being able to remove a lot of special bind, they remove bind, they give you matching slots, chain boundary, bunch of good stuff. They've got a great utility switch effect as well. There's just not a lot really bad about this unit. This unit just has a bunch of positive upsides. Not a great captain, but still a fantastic crewmate they can use on a lot of different teams. It's a Straw Hat unit, which helps triggers a bunch of EX supers or super tandem requirements, which is just an added positive to this unit. Really do like Nami and Carrot. The next one on this list is an older Super Sugo Fest exclusive that has aged maybe, I don't know, it feels bad to say they've aged poorly, but they have a lot of positives, and that is going to be Roger Newgate. So Roger Newgate is still very good because they've got really interesting classes being Striker and Slasher. They've got a very good switch effect still, being able to generate adjacent slots matching, attack and all boosting effect. Their special is still good, being able to remove 20 turns of despair, and then any attack or all boost that you have is automatically buffed up to that 3x multiplier. A 3x multiplier is pretty mid in today's day and age, but there's a lot of good teams that this character can just be chucked on, and being able to generate, you know, their switch effect every turn, granting you additional damage is pretty good. Obviously, this character still sees a lot of play like co-op quests, for example, because being able to get an attack boost and an all boost every single turn is really valuable in that kind of content with high HP mobs. So definitely don't sleep on Roger Newgate. They've definitely been power crept quite a lot, but they're still a solid unit to have for sure. Now, of course, we have all of these new units as well. Now, unfortunately, I don't really think many of these new units are breaking into that top 5, even a top 10 barrier, which is unfortunate. But as for the next unit, it is going to be one of the new units, and it's going to be the Monkey D. Luffy. I was like really thinking about whether or not I wanted any of these characters to even be on this list, but after thinking about it, yeah, I do think this Luffy does deserve to be on here because he does have the highest damage potential as a captain in the game. Being able to make your characters go up to a 7 times, basically a 7x multiplier, is no joke. So you have to give him that respect there. And His special is incredibly powerful too, being able to inflict 3 times increased damage taken. Again, you just cannot sleep on a character that can do that kind of ability. And then he does have the potential to give you up to a 3 times conditional boost against increased damage taken. Has the EX Super, of course, which can grant the weakness buff, which can potentially get you a 1.69 times damage increase as well. So all of these increased damage effects on the opponent that all go through immunity, stacking together is a very potent strategy. Obviously, he has some downsides because the way that they've designed this unit, he is very, very tricky to use. If you're a new player, this character is not that good for your account, I feel. Yes, his damage is quite high when you get it to work, but he's just very difficult to build for. And for that reason, I don't want to put him too high. But the thing is I'm making this video, obviously, before we've even had a treasure map or a super boss Kizuna, where people haven't really been able to test and trial out this character. But there is a lot of upside potential with this guy, and I feel like he probably will jump up as the months continue, as people kind of understand the nuances of this guy and how they can build him more effectively. I do think this guy has some of the highest potential in the game, but I think the ease of use really scales him down, and he's very tricky to build for. And he does have a little clunkiness in his kit with that special, where yeah, he does give you that increased damage taken, but there is the caveat to his conditional boost, where the enemy already has to have increased damage taken on them, or you need to have 10 turns of end of turn healing for him to give you the conditional boost. And that's really tricky, because end of turn healing is not that common, especially getting 10 turns of it. Very, very uncommon. The only real way to do it effectively guaranteed is by using the EX Super of the new Sabo. You can obviously use the Galaxy Impact Garp, but the problem with this guy is that he gives it to you in his captain effect at the start of the quest, and then if you keep tapping recovery slots on him, he keeps extending it. But if you get to the last stage and you don't have 10 turns of end of turn healing, then Luffy just won't work. So again, Galaxy Impact Garp, I don't understand why he was built that way. As I said though, Luffy has a lot of upside, and if we continue to get characters that are able to enable this character's abilities, he's going to become even better to use. So at the moment, I'm going to put him on this list. And look, just because he's here, it doesn't mean that, oh no, he's bad because he's not in the top 10. This unit's still a Super Sugo Fest exclusive. You do have to keep that in mind. This character is still very, very good. Do not sleep on the strength Luffy. We're moving on now to our, is it number 15? I think it's, yeah, number 16, sorry. And this character is one of my favorite characters in the game. One of my favorite legends. It is probably my favorite legend of 2024. And that's going to be Cross Guild. Cross Guild introduced the set target status mechanic in Treasure Cruise, and that mechanic is absolutely nuts. Very, very broken. And using this in tandem with characters like Zoro and Sanji, using versus Shanks as well. Shanks, Zoro, synergizing well with this enables this character to use their Rush Sugo special, which stacks with Zoro Sanji having a super tandem, stacks with like Shanks potentially having like final tap and all these other cool mechanics. So this character abilities are really strong, really unique, and has great synergy with the classes that he tries to boost. So for those reasons, I really want to put him on this list. He's very fun to use as well. He's got some very interesting mechanics. The fact that you can use his special multiple times in a turn to get a bunch of different effects, and obviously, as I said, set target status is one of the most busted buffs that we've been able to get access to in Treasure Cruise this year. And for those reasons, I really love this character. Fantastic in high damage content, really good in short form content, pretty good in long form content as well, as you can just use their special periodically on multiple stages. Really well designed unit, I think. So shout out to Cross Guild for being just such a dope legend, man. All right, we're moving on to a relatively older legend. I got to actually find them. Where are they? They are here somewhere. But this character is a Kizuna Clash legend. And this unit right here, Toki, is going to be the next one on the list. This character just continues to see play over and over again. It's funny when this character came out because everyone thought this character was like kind of mediocre. Oh, you're only giving 2 characters a 3.5 times attack and orb boost. That's all you're doing, and those characters can avoid a bunch of debuffs. But man, this effect is insanely broken. It is so good. And the other thing that a lot of people kind of forget about this unit also counts as Momo and as Hiyori, so it can count for certain EX super conditions or super tandem requirements, and also they get access to great support characters as well. And of course, being able to make characters avoid gimmicks, giving those specific units massive damage numbers of a 3.5 times attack and all boost. And considering how the game is now, and we have so many characters that can grant additional buffs to withstanding attack and all buffs, means that that 3.5 boost can be multiplied to pretty high numbers. And like this, for example, using like this on this Luffy with having this potential 7 times captain, I think this kind of combo with Toki and Luffy might be something that people will explore in the upcoming Super Boss Kizuna. Because this character exists, I'm going to assume that there's going to be a Dex Super Boss in the next Kizuna, and this guy's going to be really good for it. So we'll have to wait and see how that kind of comes about. But I feel like Toki with the combo of this unit, but Toki in combination with most other units just works so well. It's such a good combo, man. So we're going to move on. Next unit on the list is a relatively recent unit, and that's going to be Roger Gang. The Captain Shift mechanic obviously is a really cool mechanic that they brought into the game, and I think it makes dual units way more valuable than what they were previously. I've never really been a big fan of dual units because using them as captain is just kind of weird, but what they've done with Captain Shift is that they've kind of made it so that, you know, you can have them as captain and you can switch them out. You can have other characters switch into captain's positions, and characters get bonuses for being captains, and you get, you know, obviously access to their EX Super or their Super Type or Super Class, and then you can switch them out of that position if you want to. And I think the Captain Shift mechanic works probably the best with Roger Aureli Gaban. While this character is mainly like slasher focused, but also strength focused and int focused, so can potentially work well with this Luffy. We'll have to wait and see what the best strategy is moving forward. This character also has EX Super, which could also work pretty well with the Luffy. Again, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, Roger Gang, a really, really cool character, does a lot of damage, has a couple of utility things, but nothing too noteworthy. But they're just like an overall, like super solid, middle of the road, like Super Sugo Fest exclusive. This character is just strong. I mean, they're not even a Super Sugo Fest exclusive. I'm pretty sure they're an anniversary exclusive, but they're just a really well-designed unit, I feel. So I'm a pretty big fan of Roger Gang. I think they're honestly pretty good. The next character on the list is going to be one of the newer characters, and it's going to be Whitebeard and Ace. I do think this character is probably the best of the new characters thus far. I have trialed out all of them. Sabo, unfortunately for me, does fall kind of short. And the main reason why I say that is because I feel like Sabo is a very good legend. The problem is he only works well in content where the enemy has the weakness class debuff. If the enemy does not have that debuff, Sabo is trash. He just doesn't help you at all. But if they do have the weakness class debuff, then Sabo is one of the better legends in the game because the amount of damage that he provides to your team is absurd. But I think that more generically speaking, Whitebeard and Ace are going to be a character that is just good in a lot of content. They've got pretty good utility. The attack down removal is really strong. They give you a really solid attack boost as well. Their captain ability is a little bit to be desired, honestly. They could have done a lot better in terms of his captain. And I will say I'm not a big fan of the character's switch effect and the super switch mechanic because the character doesn't generate a matching slot for themselves. The utility that they provide with their switch effect is not that good. It removes slot bind and paralysis on themselves. Like that, like who really cares, right? Like if you're going to have an ability that only removes it on themselves, I think like Despair probably would have been the better choice. So you can still use them as a captain, remove Despair, and you can get through mechanics like that. And then their captain ability removes, limit special uses, which is a very niche mechanic that you will not have to come across that often. So I think that in terms of the utility aspect, like, yeah, they've got a little bit, but it's like really niche utility. So this character is not going to be used that much in that regard, but this character has very unique mechanics in regards to the whole Whitebeard Pirate Commander's tag category mechanic that they introduced with this guy. If you're using one of your Whitebeard Pirate Commanders, you can get various bonuses, and I think, you know, this character will age really well so long as we get more support for the Whitebeard Pirate Commanders. But I do think that the devs have to be very careful because if they start introducing extremely broken Whitebeard Pirate Commander characters in the future, it's going to make Whitebeard and Ace one of the most valuable legends to own in the game. Like, obviously, you got some really cool mechanics, right? Like Marco, for example, if you use a Marco special, you just get 100% HP guard for one turn. an incredibly broken mechanic, especially considered this guy gets access to Rush Sugo Special, which is the best of the potential abilities from this New Year's batch, in my opinion. The fact that they get access to Rush is a really big deal, and their Rush activates when you tap first in the chain. So it enables you to get the most damage increase from it. So yeah, there's just a lot of potential upside with this guy, and all of the interesting and like nuances and the intricacies in regards to the Whitebeard Pirate Commanders category leads me to believe that this is probably the better of the New Year characters at the moment. But as I said, if we get more and more weakness class stuff, Sabo will show up more often. So long as the weakness class is specified for fighters and cerebrals, that character is going to be so insane for that type of debuff against that enemy, because that effect is so busted with Sabo. But considering that not a lot of content actually has it, or at least not reoccurring content, like if you're trying to go back and beat old content, none of the old content has weakness class, which devalues this character significantly. However, like new content, this character will be good, which is why it's hard to scale how good this Sabo actually is right now. I will say though that his super tandem's pretty solid. His super tandem does provide quite a lot of damage, especially at level 5, so do keep that in mind. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next character. The next character made a feature in my most recent video talking about like the best Super Sugo Fest exclusives in the game. I just have to find it real quick. It is the New Year's Legend that came out last year, being Dual Yamato. Dual Yamato has a lot of damage potential, and that's the main reason why this character sees play. This character can output so much goddamn damage, it's insane. But you have to really plan the team out effectively. Obviously, Zoro and Sanji is a big part of that. 10th Anniversary Ace, another really big part of that. There's lots of cool stuff with this character, so do not sleep on this unit. But the main reason this character sees play is really high color affinity boost, and the final tap. If you have this character's final tap with a lot of investment, it's like literally the hardest hitting effect in the game, so don't sleep on this. This character can go crazy, so long as you have type advantage, being, versus a quick boss or versus a strength boss. We'll move on from that now. We're going to look at another Super Sugo Fest exclusive, and that character is going to be Legend Uta, one of my personal favorite legends in the game. I think Uta gets a bad rap in the community. I feel like there's like a group of people in the community that specifically hate this legend, and I don't understand why. Because every time I rank this character really high, a lot of people like just disagree, and I just don't see why you could disagree. This character is god tier, and look, this is not specifically talking about the quick unit. This is talking about like also the 6-star version that's int. Both the int and the quick ones, amazing units, and they both buff cerebral. You got one for striker, one for shooters. Just a phenomenal unit, like really well designed unit. I absolutely adore this character. Being able to grant that turn progress activated ability, it's unparalleled. Nothing else does it in the game aside from the other Uta legend, so they're god tier, man. I really love these units, and I feel like they're gonna age really well too. Obviously the damage numbers, they're like relatively okay. I believe it once you get the turn progress effect to like the last stage, it's like a 3.25 buff or something like that, which is still like pretty good. And the fact that you can get it for like multiple stages or multiple turns in a row, plus you have the added effect of the captain ability, removing 10 turns of special reverse and 10 turns of paralysis. It's a good combination of utility that this character can provide, which opens up really cool options for hybrid scenarios. This character removing 2 key debuffs, you can have a friend captain removing 2 other key debuffs, and you can just remove so much stuff. So yeah, Uta, definitely one of the better legends in the game for sure. So moving on to our top 10. So now we're getting into the top 10 position. Let's see what we have. The next character on this list is going to be a Super Sugo Fest exclusive that came out this year, and it's going to be Shanks and Kid. Obviously, with this character, we are more looking at the Shanks side of things, because being able to grant double stacking conditional boosts is very good, and then obviously granting the weakness debuff that can be applied to the opponent, but it's the synergy, right? He is slasher focus. You want slashers on your team, and there's a character in the game that can provide the slasher class to all of your characters. And of course, we talked about it earlier, but cross guild, great synergy with this. We have Yamato, great synergy with this. We have Roger, great synergy with this. There's a lot of cool characters that synergize well with slashers in the top end damage pool in Treasure Cruise. So yeah, don't disregard this one. Shanks is a really, really powerful character. I will say that I am disappointed with what they decided to do with Shanks' captain ability. I feel like it's definitely not that exciting, but his special ability and his versus effect, incredible effects. I really like Kid. Design-wise, I think versus Kid is really good. The only real downside is that his versus effect, specifically talking about Shanks as well, I guess, the versus effect requires requirement is really harsh. They basically built them only to be used in Kizuna Clash, but the problem is that shooters are not really that good in Kizuna Clash. So it really hurts Kid overall with getting access to that versus ability. I feel like if their requirement was the same as Luffy Kaido or the same as Blackbeard and Law, this character would be close to top 5, I think. It's a bit of a shame. They could have done a much better job design-wise in terms of making it easier to use, but if you just look in a vacuum at what the character does on paper, Captain, Special, versus Effect itself, this character is amazing. Both Shanks and Kid, really well-designed units, just with a little bit of a flaw that makes them a little bit more annoying to use. Okay, so the next character on this list is going to be a unit that is not a Super Sugofest exclusive. Surprise, surprise. This next character is a fan favorite, and it is going to be Nami and Karina. I don't really think many people would argue with this character being a top 10 level legend. Obviously, this character is not really used for their damage numbers. The damage is inconsequential. We're talking more about the utility, the variance, the versatility that this character has. It's just phenomenal that a character like this actually exists. They've got a fantastic captain ability as well that can be used in basically every content that you could possibly use them for. And then, of course, you can have the different specials depending on which character you use. So Nami has a different special than Karina. So you can have a scenario where you have one captain as Nami, one as Karina, and you get a vast array of different buffs when you activate both of their specials simultaneously. I really like what this character does, and of course you have the added factor of their Pirate Rumble stuff. Of course, we're not talking about Pirate Rumble in this video, but this is arguably top 3 best Rumble characters in the game, so there's also that too. There's just a lot of value with Nami and Karina, so you cannot disregard that unit at all. Speaking of valuable characters, the next one on this list is going to be a character that is an anniversary exclusive. Came out with the 10th anniversary, of course, and that character is going to be the Dex Anniversary Roger. This guy, really cool unit. Very similar to Nami Karina in a way, in terms of like, this character isn't really used for their damage potential. While yes, this character can provide amazing buffs to the crew, the character is more of just like a convenience factor. Like, this character just has great utility. He provides some really good buffs for the crew. His super tandem is one of the better super tandems in One Piece Treasure Cruise, only requiring one additional character to tap. And the character list that he has is a pretty good pool of characters that you would normally see on top end teams. Monkey D. Luffy, Redhead Shanks, Kaido, Big Mom, characters of that akin, right? So you've got a pretty good pool of units you can get access to trigger that super tandem, which is cool. Of course, you need it for his EX Super as well. The EX Super can be a little annoying to proc, but it is a powerful effect that synergizes well with his special, granting like the attack orb color affinity boost. You can extend it for multiple turns, and it can't be removed by the crew or the enemy abilities. Very powerful effect, but as we said, you know, great ability as a captain to remove special bind, removes attack down and defense up with the special ability, generates that tandem slot, can't be removed. Just cool stuff. Roger is another one of these units, kind of like Momo. Like, if you're just starting Treasure Cruise, if you can get Roger, that's dope. It's unfortunate, though, because he is an anniversary exclusive, so he only comes out, like, literally twice a year. So very, very hard to get this unit, but very valuable unit to own across the board. Just super, super good. Okay, we're going to move on now to the next character, which is another Super Sugofest exclusive, being Luffy versus Kaido. So versus units just inherently have a lot of value because they are basically two characters in one. So that really makes a big deal. And specifically about this unit is that both sides of this unit are very, very good. You know, sometimes you'll get a versus unit where one character is like by far and away just the better unit. I mean, kind of like talking like Shanks and Kid, where like they're both good on paper, but like realistically speaking, like, you know, Shanks is the character that sees the most play. But with Luffy versus Kaido, I feel like both of these units are like neck and neck in terms of how good they are. I think that generally speaking, I feel like more people probably use versus Luffy, but don't sleep on versus Kaido. I'm telling you, please don't sleep on this unit. Like, if you're ever using a driven focused team, use this character. This unit is busted. He does so many cool things. He's like, he's kind of like Uta in a way, like the captain wise. Removes 10 turns of special reverse, 10 turns of paralysis, super, super good, high damage numbers, special ability grants like the tandem and Wano slots, attack boost, just massive damage, utility as well, removing enemy defensive effects. Both of their versus abilities are very strong and very easily achievable, which is a big deal. Luffy, though, has very high damage potential, being able to inflict increased damage taken through immunity, grants the conditional boost, and of course he's free spirit focused. We have Shanks granting double stacking conditional boost, he's slasher focused, and we have a character in the game that can transform all characters into slasher and free spirit units. Just saying. Great combo there. But yeah, Luffy versus Kaido, god tier unit, man. Super good character, very, very valuable to own. We're moving into the 6th position here, and it's going to be the 10th anniversary Luffy. I feel like out of the anniversary characters that came out, this character, like on initial release, I think I liked Luffy the most. But as time has gone on, I feel like the other 2 headliner units for the 10th anniversary have been used more often and have been more valuable more of the time, at least in my opinion, through, subjective usage. 10th anniversary Luffy, I'm not saying he's a bad unit, he's still an amazing unit. I mean, he's like literally, this is actually incorrect, this should be 6 to 10. Still literally one of the best legends in the game. It's just, I personally don't like his EX super requirement. The fact that you need 3 of his listed units, whereas, the other 2, Ace and Shanks, only need 2 characters, where he needs 3, it's really annoying, honestly. The fact that it's really hard to get his EX super compared to the other 2. So yeah, a little bit of an annoyance there with this character, but hey, all of the 10th anniversary units are very powerful units that can be used to beat a lot of content in Treasure Cruise, and of course you can't disregard his Rumble stuff. His Rumble stuff is quite good. So we're going to move on to the top 5. Let's see what my personal top 5 best legends in One Piece Treasure Cruise are. We're moving on to a new versus character, and it's going to be Law versus Blackbeard. It's crazy how I put this character so high, even though the Law side of this unit is kind of bad. Blackbeard is just that good, honestly. It's mainly just because we get so many gimmicks in high-end content now, in like high-end, when I say high-end content, I mean like, endgame related content, where, it's a gimmick that does damage to you in some way, whether it be burn, whether it be pain debuff, bleed debuff, whatever it may be. Stupid stuff that just does random damage to you for no reason. Blackbeard basically circumvents all of those things, which is really powerful. Great utility captain, great damage captain, and the fact that he is powerhouse focused, and we got a lot of stuff in this New Year's batch that is also powerhouse focused, which does inherently help him out. The only real downside I would say with Blackbeard is that his rush is not that good. Because the rush only really works if he is the final character to tap, whereas Trafalgar Law, on his side of things, like, for those of you who don't know, the versus effect for this unit is the same for both sides. The issue arises when you actually look at what it does. The versus effect, or the rush says that if you're first to attack with this character, it gives a striker attack buff, which is what Law focuses on. If you do the final character to attack, it gives the last character to attack like a big damage bump. So, obviously, it doesn't matter. Like, you can use Law as the first tap or Law as the final tap. But with Blackbeard, you only want to use him as the final tap because the first tap is a striker buff, not a powerhouse buff. So, I don't know why the versus effect really should be first tap is a striker and a powerhouse bump, then the final tap is for both of them as well. So, it just means that, like, the rush of Blackbeard is probably only good if you're up against a Psyboss. If not, I don't know if you'd really go out of your way to use his rush. His versus effect is also very good. And I think Law has potential, but we just need more striker support to make him more worth running. There is going to be high upside for him in the future, I feel, but as for right now, not so much, unfortunately. But the Blackbeard side of this unit is super broken. Super, super, super good. Okay. Moving on to the next unit, it is going to be another Super Sugo Fest exclusive, being Shanks. Actually, all of these units moving forward are going to be Super Sugo Fest exclusives. 10th Anniversary Shanks is going to be my next one. Good utility captain, good damage captain, very good EX Super that I think a lot of people kind of overlook. He does remove Intimidate, which I think he is the only character in the game that can technically remove that specific buff. Of course, we have characters that remove all positive buffs, but on the enemy side of the field, but like Shanks specifically removes Intimidate, which is kind of big. Great EX Super granting an all boost as well, and specific class changes too, and the special ability to grant size slots, being able to do like good utility as well, massive color affinity, of course. But the fact that he's slasher focused, which is a big thing, but also cerebral focused. Cerebral's another good class, and I think that he's a lot easier to use, just generally speaking, when you compare him to what Luffy does. Of course, the rush for these units, for these 10th anniversary exclusives, insanely busted. There's not really much else to say about this guy. Very simple, like pretty easy to understand what he does. He just does it really, really well. Like I really like 10th anniversary Shanks. Like the color affinity buff is kind of annoying because like color affinity is like not a great buff, of course, unless if you do have the type advantage. If you're able to abuse that, it's very good. Whereas like attack boost and orb boost are just good generically. They're good against every kind of boss. But color affinity is only really good for characters that have that type advantage, which can be a little bit of a downfall for the unit. But the unit is still very, very good. So yeah, as I said, don't sleep on the unit. Gear 5 is the next one. Now, I do have the icon here for the 6-star plus version of Luffy, but I will say that the 6-star base version of the character is the character that sees the most play. Like, literally, like, the god tier character. If you're starting Treasure Cruise in any capacity, Gear 5 Luffy Psy unit is the best unit to start with. It will just help you clear so much content. Great utility captain. The EX Super granting the ability to transform into Gear 5, go through defensive effects. We all know what he does. He's literally god tier. Like he's so good. Even though his damage will inevitably over time be power crept, the utility effects that he provide, I feel like is just gonna be the reason why he's gonna be so good for so long. Like the fact that you can run double Luffy, keep one as Gear 5, keep one as base form. You've got revive, you've got bypass defensive effects, you've got bind and reverse removal. You can remove all enemy beneficial effects by one turn. Like you can just get around so many things. Of course, you do need to have 3 Straw Hats or Momo Law Kid on your team, Yamato, in order to trigger the EX Super, but it is worth it because what you get out of it is just nuts. So yeah, shout out to that Psy Gear 5. Another reason why actually this character is so good to start with is because you get those Psy Straw Hats at the start of your account, and they just work so good with Gear 5. So yeah, I mean, if you're starting Treasure Cruise, he is literally the best character to get. But yeah, I mean, there are 2 other characters that I think are better generically than the Gear 5, but Gear 5 is like, I mean, that's where you want to be. That is where you want to be. So we've got 2 more characters to talk about, and I'm pretty sure most of you guys out there know exactly who they're going to be. It's going to be 10th Anniversary Ace is my number 2 pick. I think Ace is definitely the best character out of the anniversary that we got earlier this year. The fact that he's free spirit focused is the main reason for that, but also like his utility is very good. The cooldown reduction that he provides is insane. 50% cooldown for all characters. So if you're running double Ace, you basically get max special charge, which is so good. But also being able to resist special reverse, the special ability getting around damage nullification, which is a very rare debuff to remove. Like not a lot of characters have damage nullification removal. Ace has that. He also removes a ton of paralysis, matching slots, or boosting special with an EX Super that is easily achievable, that can grant you an attack boost, potential type change, or a class change should I say as well. Ace is just all round really well designed, really powerful unit, great Rush Sugo special, so you can't sleep on him. And I don't think it's much of a surprise, but for the character that is going to be my personal number 1 on the tier list is going to be still Zoro and Sanji. We'll see what happens as we move forward. Of course, we have only just received the New Year's Legends, so we'll have to wait and see exactly what's going to happen, but I think that there is a world where Zoro and Sanji is no longer number 1. If they are trying to phase Zoro and Sanji out of content, it really depends on the gimmicks that they give us for like high-end damage content, because they could really try and phase him out and make like the new Strength Luffy the new go-to. I just think it's really hard for them to try and do that because Zoro and Sanji teams are so well put together. They're so synergistic. They're really hard to break. Like it's hard, like if you take Zoro and Sanji out of a lot of the teams just don't work. He enables so many stupid things, and I just don't know how they're going to make it in such a way where he's going to be unable to be used. I guess if they bring out a new Zoro or a new Sanji that is like absolutely busted god tier, that could be a way to power creep the unit, but I just don't see it happening. This is my personal top 20 as of right now. We'll see how things go. I mean, this again, completely 100% subjective. let me know your top 5 or even top 10 best units in One Piece Treasure Cruise. I would love to hear your guys' opinion. But again, we'll see how things go. I think this list is going to change significantly come the start of January, because I do think that we'll have more time now to play around with the New Year's characters, and I think that's really going to shift where these characters lie. Like Sabo isn't even on this list, but after the whole month of us having usage of him, he might make it on. We'll have to wait and see. But hopefully you enjoyed the video today. If you did, make sure to go ahead and leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. On that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.